There we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Beautiful. Real Ghost Stories, what's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? I think it's just you and me, dude. We're just gonna be here. Oh, we got two guys now. The coffee guy, yo, what up? Dude. I have coffee tonight. It's decaf, but I have coffee nonetheless. Michael Iglesias, what up, dude? You're in the Philippines for a few weeks for work, and you appreciate something familiar? Yeah, dude. Dude, what's the Philippines like, man? What's it like? Han the Mars, what up, dude? How you doing, man? Leslie Castles, hello. My coffee's really hot right now. Asur, what up, dude? You got the notification that the books are on their way, and I just got my copy of Licen's Ledger from Loot Tavern. It's good to be and enjoy your third-party D&D stuff right now. Yeah. So, books. Layers and Legends 2 books. I was just told today by our UK and EU fulfillment partner that they're working on fulfillment right now, literally shipping stuff out, and that they should be done by Friday this week, which is tomorrow, which is pretty close to today if you're in Europe, probably. So that should all be wrapping up. So as of like next week, Layers and Legends 2 will be completely fulfilled. All donezo. Be beautiful. Michael says it's a lot like, so Philippines is a lot like Florida weather-wise. The people are great, very friendly. So when I was in Florida, it was hot, humid, and it rained almost every night. Like almost every night you'd get a lot of times it was like a thunderstorm. It wasn't just like a little bit of rain. You would get like thunderstorms that would roll through. I was in the Orlando area, so that might make a difference. But it was like clockwork. Not every night, but almost every night you'd get a storm that would roll in the evening time. It was uncanny how frequently it happened. It might be confirmation bias to some extent, but I remember it happened a lot. Do you put cream and sugar into it? My coffee? Oh gosh, no. You ruin coffee that way. My wife puts like cream. She doesn't put sugar in her coffee, but she puts cream, milk, and I don't know. She puts a whole bunch of bull crap in her coffee, and it tastes horrible. Like my rule of thumb is, if I'm getting coffee for my wife, like if she wants me to get some coffee for her from like someplace or whatever, if I try it and it tastes horrible, my wife is probably gonna like it, and vice versa. So no, I don't put anything in my coffee. Black. I had a friend in college. He would tell me this is my friend would tell me. He's like, I like my coffee like I like my coffee like I like my women, strong and black. That's what he would tell me. So we just drink it black, dude. It's best that way. The food is good too. Oh, I bet, dude. I mean, I feel like most of the time, once you get, this is very interesting. When I was living in Central America, the food down there is way better than up here. It's more natural. It's less like processed. It's less like, like the beef and the cattle and the pork and everything. It's not like, corn fed and all this crap. They like graze and they just eat natural crap. And so like the meat tastes way better. Everything is better. I feel like that's probably true. Like if you go from the US to probably almost any country, the food's probably going to taste better just because it's not as crappy as the food here. Like industrialized farming and processing stuff. I don't know how to explain it. But that was one of the things I noticed when I came back from Central America don't bite my watch. After I came back from Central America for 4 years, like the food here is just like trash. And I'm not talking about like restaurants and stuff. Restaurants are generally not that great. But I mean, just you go to the supermarket, you go to the grocery store, you buy your own food and you prepare it from scratch. It just doesn't taste as good. It just doesn't. Which is crazy, but whatever. Yellow watermelon was a surprise hit for me. Oh yeah, that's one of the things. Like, sometimes fruit doesn't always look the same color as you're accustomed to it. When I was in Central America, oranges are not orange; they are green. They are green. That is the color of an orange, and they're about as big as a grapefruit, and they're so succulent and juicy. But they're green, man. The skin is not nearly as thick as the oranges here. It's a thinner skin. And they're so stinking good. Massive, beautiful oranges. If you tried to sell those oranges in the US, I don't think people would buy them because they'd be like, that's not what an orange is. But they're delicious. Oh, they're so good. Just the Craft says, I live 1 hour from Orlando, just north into Georgia. It rains every other day for like 30 minutes and then just muggy. Yeah, that was my experience when I was in Orlando. It was just every day. Every day. Okay, so let's get into it. So we're doing Q&A. Just, drop your questions in the chat. I'll answer questions. We'll just talk. We'll just hang out. That's what we're doing tonight. We do have a giveaway going on. There should be a link in the chat. Yes, there is a link in the chat where you can join the giveaway. We're giving away $50 DM Lair store credit so you can get some cool books. We have tons of D&D books over there. We have map packs. We have Lair magazine. We have stuff for Pathfinder 2 as well. We have one-shot adventures. We have just buku tons of cool crap on the dmlair.com for you to use in your games. And the winner of the giveaway will get $50 and they can go buy whatever they want off the store. So join the giveaway. It's free. Click the link in the chat. You type in some horse crap and then, you might win. My co-streamer is here. Squeaky. Fat in her coffee. Did you ever play 4th edition? I played it once. I moved to it after the OGL situation, and not gonna lie, I used a few minor homebrew tweaks, and my table has been loving it. We also only do 1 or 2 combat encounters a session. Yeah, I mean, you can only do 1 or 2 combat encounters a session. My understanding is with 4th edition, because combat takes a long time. That's what I've been told. I played one-shot game in 4th edition, and I don't really remember a whole lot about it, to be perfectly honest with you. We didn't use a whole lot of the game mechanics before we TPK'd. And you're gonna love this. We TPK'd to a skill challenge. That's right. My one and only experience with 4th edition D&D was TPKing, total party kill, everyone dies, to not combat, not a boss encounter, not a bad decision, but a skill challenge. Yes, sir, a skill challenge. I don't think that that's a fault of 4th edition game system. I think that is a fault of the person who designed that adventure. I think they were doing something that was bad adventure design is what that was. And then the Dungeon Master, well, it was organized play. And so I don't think the Dungeon Master, and it was part of a tournament as well. So the Dungeon Master didn't have any leeway. The Dungeon Master had to run it as is. And the adventure called for a TPK if you failed so many rolls of the skill challenge, and we were rolling like garbage. It didn't matter which skills we chose, how we justified using our best skill to help us in the skill challenge. We were rolling like trash. And when you're rolling like trash in the skill challenge, nothing you do matters. Nothing you do matters. You were literally at the whim of the dice. And the dice screwed us over, and we TPK'd in a tournament. And I think we were doing okay in that tournament until we TPK'd. And at that point, it's just like, well, nobody else TPK'd, and your group TPK'd, so you're probably not going to win this tournament, And the crappy thing is that was literally part of. I paid $2,000 to be in that tournament. It was part of Gary Con 2 years ago. It was I forget what it was, but it was they're now running a special weekend convention before Gary Con. It's like the pre-Gary Con, I forget what they call it, but they're running a special VIP. They are currently doing it. They're running a special VIP tournament, and I literally paid $2,000 to play in the tournament, and that included hotel rooms. So it's you got a nice hotel room out of it too for 3 or 4 days or whatever it was. But yeah, I'll tell you what, TPKing, in a tournament to bad game design, or I should say bad adventure design. That's kind of the same thing. That was not fun. I did not enjoy that. That was not a great experience. But again, I don't fault the dungeon master for that one. That was whoever designed that scenario. Stop biting me! Stop biting me! Whoever designed it was just like I said. They're going nuts. So I forget the name of that tournament though. What was the name of that tournament? Somebody could probably Google it and tell me. Luke, for your info, I got into the face. Stop biting my watch! I don't care if he bites my arm. He can bite my shirt, but this is an expensive like Fitbit. It's like $150 or something, and he wants to bite it. I'm like, no, don't bite my watch. Now he's over there sulking. Yeah, you got yelled at, turd. What was I saying? Oh, into the Fae. It took 15 days compared to your estimated 7 to 9 days. Tariff shipping delay? I don't think anything to do with tariffs. I mean, it's international shipping, so sometimes you just, what are you gonna do? You know? So, I have nothing for you. Do tariffs apply? There are tariffs everywhere. I'm sure that there are some tariffs in some places, depending on where you ship. I'm 67 and ready to try being a DM for the first time. Hey Mark, what's up, dude? The things we do for our grandkids. What's the best resource to get myself started? You're gonna be a DM for the very first time? Well, I mean, what do you have, Mark? Like, do you have the books? Do you have a starter set? Like, what do you have currently to start being a DM? And have you played D&D before? I think those are all really good questions for me to put some so it would give me very useful context before I tell you what to do, or what I would suggest you do. I suppose you don't have to do it. I'm not like ordering you around or something. Waffle Dreams, what up, dude? How you doing, buddy? I'm glad I'm moving to LA and not to Florida. Too stormy in Florida. Yeah, I think LA's got its own problems, dude. I wouldn't celebrate until you're there and you figure stuff out. You have fires that they don't put out. You have earthquakes from time to time. You have insanely high cost of living and taxes, and I mean, we could just keep going, buddy. So I don't know that I would celebrate quite yet. Hope you're getting a lot of money too. You have GAA football training in the morning, so I gotta go. What does that mean, dude? What is GAA football? Nixit, what up, dude? How you doing, man? Uh-oh. Somebody got smacked for adult language. Why do I have cat hair in my coffee? Oh my gosh. Literally can see cat hair floating. I need like a sieve, you know? I need like one of those scoopers so that I can like strain out the cat hair from my coffee. What in the world? It's like a big old puff ball just floated and dropped in here. Oh my word. You guys are buttheads. Don't look at me like that. Okay, where were we? Somebody asked the Dark Sun question. I saw a Dark Sun question. I think somebody was asking if the wish spell exists. I mean, if you're the game master, I'm not super familiar with the Dark Sun setting, but my understanding is that casting spells and magic in Dark Sun is very problematic, and that there are repercussions for that. And I would only assume that the more powerful the spell, the bigger the problem it would cause. So I don't know how that would honestly work, or whether any of that. To be perfectly honest, I'm just not familiar with Dark Sun. I don't know anything about it. Besides that, Wizards of the Coast will never touch it ever again because it has problematic themes in it. You know, that's all I really know about Dark Sun. Tabasco stops biting on objects by pets. Only takes once, then clean it. Really? So I just can put some Tabasco sauce on my watch, he'll like bite it a couple times during a stream and then he will be done. Ah, I have to go buy some Tabasco sauce though. Or I can get some of those little packets the next time we go to a restaurant. I'll have to do that. Okay, Mark says, yes, I've played and I have all the books. Okay, so then what are you asking then, Mark? Your original question, Mark, was you're ready to be a DM for the first time, the things we do for, what's the best resource to get myself started? So then what are you asking? What resource are you looking for? Because if you have all the books and you've played before, I don't know what you're looking for. Waffle Dream says I will have a roommate, and yeah, the career field I'm going for is big money. Okay, oh, that's cool. I mean, try to work remotely, dude. Can't you just work remotely? Why do you have to live there, man? Asur says if you're shocked to see cat hair in your coffee, then you won't believe how much cat hair is behind you. Oh, dude, I know. Oh, you know what? I forgot to clean my shirt off too. It's got like a day's worth of cat hair probably on it. It's stuck to it. It's actually not that bad. I mean, there's a little bit, but could be worse. It could be way worse. GAA football is a cross between soccer and rugby. Interesting. So, more physical, less crying, but no broken teeth. I see a lot of crying on soccer fields. There's a lot of like falling to the ground and grabbing your legs and then crying. I don't watch soccer. I almost never see it, but whenever it's on TVs, there's always somebody falling to the ground and crying. That's all I know. I assume they're exaggerating to draw a penalty. You know, it's kind of like basketball where they're like, you'll fall down and then be like, at the ref, you're like, you know, exaggerating to try to draw a penalty or something. I assume that's what they're doing. In football, when I played football, you didn't really do that. If you didn't like what somebody was doing, you just like hit them hard the next time, you know? This one time in football practice in high school, it was the day before a game. And the day before a game, you only wear your shoulder pads and helmet. You don't put on like your paddings on your legs and stuff. It's just shoulder pads and helmet. That's it. You'd be amazed how much easier it is to run and do practice when you don't have the pads on your legs. You'd be amazed. It's crazy. So anyway, it was shoulder pads and helmets only. And the coach I was on JV, and we would skirmish and practice and stuff against the varsity team. And the coach said, you know, hey, it's the day before the game. You don't hit hard. You know, you're just kind of being kind of chill. You know, so I'm like, all right, I'm being kind of chill. And so we were like, I was lined up, and I think they were doing a kickoff. They were practicing kickoff returns or something. And so I was lined up, right? And then they did the kickoff thing. And then I was going, there was a guy in front of me. I'm supposed to give him a bump, you know what I mean? But like, and I'm not small, you know? I was probably about 220, you know, and I could push the weights. I was pretty strong back. I was much stronger back then than I am now. But I was pretty strong, right? I was pretty strong. And this little guy, he weighed about 150 pounds or something. Like he's the one guy across from me, right? And like he hit me hard. He knocked me on my butt, and he totally took me by surprise. So I got up and I was like, okay, so that's what don't hit hard means. Okay. And so the next time we went, I laid him out flattened him out. I mean, I was 220, he's like 150. I just laid him out flat. He didn't hit me quite as hard after that. I think he understood. When the coach says be nice, be nice. You know, you're gonna lay somebody out, you expect that. So that's how we do things in football, right? We don't like fall on the ground and grab our legs and cry. So anyway, sorry. I'm sorry if you're a soccer player or a basketball player and I offended you. I do not apologize. Coffee Guy says I have a creature that uses Ash Step, a monster version of Misty Step. When it lands, a burst of soot and ash erupts in a 5-foot radius around its space. I'm considering homebrewing a slowed condition. Okay, cool. There should probably be like a saving throw though, right? All right, I'm looking for questions. Hey, do you have any? Hey, if you have questions and I missed one, throw in the chat. Do you have any tips for mass combat? I'm going to use soldiers and enemy forces to attack each other. How would I do this in a simple way, if there is one? Okay, so there's soldiers and enemy forces to attack each other. So there's 3 ways to do mass combat, essentially. The first way to do it is to it sounds like this isn't going to apply to you because of the specific scenario you told me. But generally speaking, whenever there's a mass combat scenario in my D&D games, I won't actually have the mass combat play out at the table. My characters will take on the role. My players' characters will be an elite strike force. They will be, 5 of them or whatever, and they go on special missions that will help the larger armies, have success against the opposing armies. So like one of the missions might be like, oh, there are siege engines coming toward the city. Go destroy the siege engines, or if there'll be like, well, there's a lieutenant over there that runs the cavalry and you need to take out the lieutenant, or there might be catapults way out here, trebuchets or something, and they're operated by giants. You need to go out there and take out those trebuchets. Or we've found out where the general is. You need to go in and do X, Y, and Z. And so I will run this mass combat as an elite strike force. And so the combat, the war, the siege, the battle or whatever is taking place in the background, but the characters are an elite strike force doing very specific missions that will help their side gain victory, right? But I'm not actually playing mass combat at the game table. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to work for you. So the other solution you have is you do it narratively. You don't roll dice. You don't have a system for doing it. You just do it narratively. And this is especially if your players aren't running one of the sides. If there's just a combat that's happening, just run it narratively. Shoot, you can even just run it narratively if your players are running one of the sides. Just ask them what's going on narratively and describe things and just adjudicate. That's a possibility. Now, for a game, that might not be the most satisfying thing. So your next solution is to have a very rules-light combat system. Rules-light. It needs to be a combat system that's about 10 pages long or something. You do not want an entire book that's a mass combat system. That'll be a nightmare for you. Because here's what's going to happen. You get an entire book that's a mass combat for D&D 5th edition. First of all, D&D 5th edition is a horrible system to try to implement mass combat with. But if you get a whole book that's for mass combat, what's going to happen is you are going to have to spend the time reading the book to understand it. Then you're going to have to explain it to your players because they're not going to read the thing. They're not going to read it. Right? They're not going to buy their own copy. And even if you lend it to them, they're not going to read the thing. So you're going to have to read it yourself. You're going to have to understand it. Then you're going to have to explain it to them. Then you're going to have to probably make special units and stuff for all the different forces. And then you're going to have to play out the mass combat at your game table. Right? And if it's going to be a regular ongoing thing, like if your campaign, this is a focus of your campaign where there's regular ongoing mass combat from time to time, that might be worth your effort. Maybe, possibly, right? But the most common scenario that I think for mass combat is most of the game, we're just adventuring party, going on regular adventures. But then, for whatever reason, there's an event that happens where we're going to have a mass combat. And so you have an isolated incident of a mass combat. And if you have an isolated incident of a mass combat, you do not want to have a big fat rule book that you have to read and then explain to your players, right? Because even if you do all of that, if 5 months from now you have another mass combat, you're rereading the book and you're re-explaining everything to your players. So that's why I say you don't want a big book for mass combat in 5th edition for D&D, or for TTRPGs in general, more than likely. But what you want is a lightweight rule set. A lightweight rule set, 10 pages, easy for you to read, easy for you to explain to your players, and then you can use it. Right? You can use it and be done with it because you're probably never going to use it again, So that's what I would do if you absolutely have to have a rule set. Now, we do, as it happens, I do have a rule set on my store. I'll have to search for it. Let me see. If I go on to dmlair.com and say mass combat, yeah, there we go. So this issue of Lair magazine literally has mass combat rules in it. No, this isn't Lair magazine. This is just a standalone resource, but this goes over mass combat, and it's not very long, and it's pretty simple. So you could go pick this up if you want. I have a video on mass combat, but I don't think I talk about the rule system a whole lot. It's too crunchy to be worthwhile talking about in a video. But we also have this big rule set bundle. For $25, you can get mass combat, hex crawl, point of interest system, some crafting crap, animals sidekicks, and some other stuff in here too. So there's a whole bunch of, what do you want to call it, tertiary rule sets or something, secondary rule sets that you might find helpful if you're interested at all. But I definitely would not go with a big fat book for mass combat. That's not, unless your campaign is going to involve lots of mass combat over and over again. Then it might be worth investing in a big book and having your players all learn how to use that rule set, right? Then it might be worth it. When I played water polo, we were taught to exaggerate things like that, not to draw penalties, but so that your legs were doing under the water would be less noticeable if there was a penalty. Okay, I don't quite understand that. Question: how do you manage players wanting to short or long rest in dungeons? I'm running Curse of Strahd and we were at the Amber Temple. Thanks. Yeah, it's stupid. So Curse of Strahd isn't stupid. Amber Temple's not stupid. What sucks and is difficult to deal with is, players are going to want to short rest or long rest as much as they can. They will. I mean, generally speaking, if you can get away with short resting or long resting, if your game master will let you get away with it, then you should, because you're going to get your resources back and you have a greater chance of success in the next battle. You can use your big spells again. You don't have to worry about saving them for next time. You get all of your if you're a fighter or a monk or something, some things regenerate on short rests, maybe long rests, So as a player, if you can get away with short resting or long resting at every opportunity, absolutely do it. So players should probably try. I mean, you're going to find them trying to get away with it, And so the solution is, I try to run a balance of treating things realistically and treating things as a game. Because if we're in the middle of Amber Temple and I know that there's some nasty stuff in there, and let's say my players are like halfway through Amber Temple and they're beat up and they've had their butts handed to them, they're down on hit points, they have almost no spell slots left, they are messed up. As a game master, I know, because I've read the stinking adventure, that if they keep on going, their chances of success are very bad. So at that point, I know their condition, I'm gonna be a little lenient, as long as I don't feel like so I have had, for instance, wizards, spellcasters do this a lot. They will just blow their wad when they probably should be more conservative, and then they always want to rest. So as long as I don't feel like they've been taking advantage of that type of thing, I'm pretty lenient to let them short rest, at least a short rest, or maybe even a long rest. But even then, long resting in the middle of a dungeon, they probably are going to want to retreat or something outside of the dungeon to where it's safe. If they're in the dungeon, that could be problematic, long resting inside a dungeon, unless they can really find a safe place to do it. But even then, if I know that they've had the tar kicked out of them, the chances are, if they've had the crap kicked out of them, they've also been kicking the crap out of a lot of the people in the Amber Temple. And so maybe the remaining fragments of encounters in Amber Temple are like, shoot, man, maybe they're going to be a little bit more cautious before, going after the adventuring party or something. I don't know. But probably my mom. Yeah, it's my mom. Hey, you're on a live stream, Mom. What's up?
Do I need to bring his cage with me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's all I need to know.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, my mom says hello. They all said hi. They all waved. They're all very happy.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later.
All right,
Love
bye.
you.
Love you. Bye. Told you, my mom. It's live stream. The only person that calls me during my live stream is my mom. So now, all of that said, there's got to be a balance too, because like resting in a dungeon should have some problems associated with it. So if 8 hours, short rest, not a big deal. I wouldn't worry about short rest too much. But there are some classes that having a short rest too often is bloody murder, like warlocks, because they get all their spell slots back. So you still got, and this is why, like, this is just an example of why I don't like playing D&D that much anymore. I'd much rather play something like Shadowdark, because we don't have this conundrum as much. You know, we don't have to deal with this sort of like, oh, you know, the players are trying to get their resources back, and I know that I have to like deplete their resources before the boss fight, and so should I restock the dungeon or have them be attacked during their rest? You know, you run into these problems with D&D that don't exist in other game systems that aren't that big of a deal. But it is so like. There's got to be some semblance of realism. So if they are long resting and they're taking 8 hours or more to long rest during a dungeon, then it's totally reasonable for the dungeon to get restocked a little bit. Like they might have reinforcements that come. And you might need to restock it a little bit just so that they're not at full strength before like the boss fight or something. Because to like deplete their resources a little bit or something. But I hate doing that. I hate doing that. And I'll tell you why I hate doing that. It's like, I know it's reasonable, and I know it makes sense, you know, and I know that especially if you're playing D&D 2014 version, which has the Adventuring Day mechanic, you know, you're supposed to be depleting your resources. That's why the Adventuring Day mechanic exists. And I know all of that, but I hate having to restock dungeons and put more encounters in because, like, I don't want to spend, like, 20 game sessions in the Amber Temple. I want to do the adventure, have fun doing it, and then be done with it. Yay! And then we go to the next adventure. You know, I don't want to sit forever in the same adventure, making it a slog. So it's like, I have all of these conflicting things swirling around in here, you know, and I don't think there's an easy answer. These days, to be perfectly honest with you, these days I lean much more toward, I don't give a flying crap, short rest or long rest, I don't care. Let's just keep playing the game, you know, and I don't tend to worry so much about that stuff. I just roll with it, you know, and I might make the boss fight a little bit tougher if they're at full resources, right? So I feel like I feel like probably if you asked me like two years ago, I'd have a different answer. But nowadays I'm just like, screw it, I don't care. I'm tired of this headache. Let's just play the game, man. So I don't know. I don't think I answered your question very, very satisfactorily, except for to say, you know, do whatever you want, I suppose, because it doesn't matter, or it does and doesn't. I don't know. Okay, Mark says maybe a recommendation for a campaign for a first-time game master. Okay, so I mean there are starter sets, there are starter boxes. I have a level 1 campaign that you can get off my site too if you're interested. So Into the Fae right here, this is a level 1 to 5 campaign, and it has new monsters and stuff in it and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to get this would be cool to run, and we have the hardcover. You can get the PDF of it too if you want and stuff. We literally have a 15% off discount code you can use right now too, for what it's worth. So this is a low level adventure that might be fun. So you can check that out if you'd like. I don't own any of the starter sets, so I can't tell you whether they're good or not. I honestly don't know if they're any good. But I did write Into the Fae, so I think it's good. Biased perspective, whatever it's worth. Waffle Dream said the GM said our group could have a short rest in a game, but the group said no. I feel like my group My players do the same thing a lot. They talk themselves out of short rests because they like, I don't know. They just like, they're like, oh, we should take a rest, and they're like, no, but this, that, and the other, and let's just push on. A lot of times, my group talks themselves out of taking rests as well. I think they're still dealing. They think they're still dealing with old Luke, who was like really like, you know, hardcore about no resting in dungeons, and they don't realize that new Luke doesn't give a flying crap too much. And especially with Pathfinder 2, I don't gotta worry about it. Pathfinder 2 doesn't have adventuring day mechanic. They don't balance things that way. You know, Shadow Dark doesn't mess with that crap. So the only thing I really have to worry about adventuring day and resource depletion and crap is my D&D 5th edition game. You know, that's the only thing I kind of got to worry about that with. But, you know, the 2024 edition of D&D took out the adventuring day mechanic, apparently. Oh, they stripped out a whole bunch of stuff out of there. We don't know how to make monsters anymore. There's no guidance on how to make monsters. They took a lot of stuff out of there. I think they were, I don't know. I think they were under the gun, had a lot of time pressure to publish a book, and some of that stuff is just too complicated, and they're just like, yeah, we're not going to put this in the book. It's like, how to make monsters, the math behind monsters, yeah, let's not publish that. Let's just not put that in there. Okay, just leave it out. Captain Conway says the biggest issue I've encountered with mini games is the game master controlling my character. Things like you feel X, you see, you go to the door, and I want to describe how my piece X. No, don't let them do that. Just no. I mean, they can tell you what you see, unless your eyes are closed. It's perfectly within their right to tell you what you see, you know. And they can tell you what you feel as far as like, you know, if the water is warm, you feel warm water, or you feel cold water, cold rain on your face. Like that type of feeling is fine. But what your character emotionally feels, no, they shouldn't be saying that. And they shouldn't be saying what you do, that you go to a door. They shouldn't. That's taking away your control of your character, and that's just wrong. So I wouldn't let them do that. I would just kind of take a pause right there and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me decide what my character does and says, please. Like, you got the whole game world. You got everybody. You got all the NPCs, all the monsters. I have one character. If you take my character away from me, I have no reason to be here. So just let me control my own character, thank you. And yeah, but you're right. Some game masters will try to do that stuff. I have not run into too many that do that though. I really haven't. If you're running into lots of game masters that do that, you're having some very bad luck, because that is not normal in my experience. The game masters will tell you what your character does. It's just not normal. So I think you got some bad luck going on. Because I think I've only encountered one game master ever that has taken our agency away in that regard and made us do things. Only one. It was at a convention years ago, and she was horrible for a whole lot of reasons. And there were players literally like you know, ending themselves in order to get out of the game, you know. And she was joking about it. Oh, you're just gonna off yourself to get out of the game. And the player's like, yep, that's right. It was that bad of a game. People were just, you know, to their characters to not have to play anymore. So I was a bad game master. But that was like one of many things that she was doing that sucked. I like using maps, but it's difficult to use them without showing the whole thing at once. How do you deal with this with players? So I assume you're talking, Nutty Squirrel, I assume you're talking about playing in person, because if you're playing online with a virtual tabletop, there's fog of war and crap. So I'm assuming you're in person. Usually what I don't tend to use like full color maps and stuff in my in-person game, unless it is like an encounter and not a full dungeon, in which case I'll just open the map up to the encounter. They already know what everything looks like. Usually I'll just draw on hex or on white erase, like hex. It's not hex, it's grid paper. It's not even paper. It's like a grid dry erase mat. That's the word I'm looking for. But What I have seen game masters do is they will use pieces of paper to cover up parts of the map that they don't want to show to characters or players just yet, the parts they haven't explored. So I've seen them put pieces of paper on there, maybe a little bit of tape or something. I heard of one using like sticky notes, like post-it notes, you know. But you'd have to use so many of these to cover up a map. I don't know why you would use post-it notes. Maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. So those are, but you're right. You can't show them the whole map at once. And if people that use terrain, for instance, like, you know, Dwarven Forge type terrain, they'll do the same thing. They'll get the whole terrain laid out, and then they'll cover up portions of it with like paper or heavier pieces of cardboard or something, so it doesn't, like, you know, get knocked out of the way super easily. So I've seen people do that too. I've been converting a lot of the Dark Sun monsters to 5th edition, but what I noticed is that my players find it way too easy, struggling to find a balance in the encounters. Yeah, I mean, I would assume, well, you're doing Dark Sun conversion, which means you'd be using like maybe 3.5 Dark Sun or 2nd edition Dark Sun or something like that, whatever you're getting it from, and you're just converting it. So I think all you do is you just aim higher, you know? Convert it. If you're converting a monster to CR3 and it's too easy, make it a CR4, or convert it to CR3 but make your encounters harder. Just design the encounters to be harder, you know. So I think you just adjust how you're doing it. If you notice it's too easy, just make some adjustments. I think you just kind of, you gotta play with it until it feels about right. I would almost play more with adjusting the encounters, not necessarily how I'm converting, which CR I'm converting to, you know? Bear in mind, though, do remember that when you have roughly the same number of monsters as the same number of characters, then you're going to, just because of action economy, you're going to have probably a better encounter. If you're converting Dark Sun monsters and you're just having an encounter with 2 of them, you know, they're gonna kind of beat the crap out of them a little bit. They have action economy on. The players have action economy on their side. So one of the aspects of balancing encounters is not just the math, right, and the challenge rating and stuff. It is how many opponents you have, because when the opponents are roughly the same, it's a more balanced encounter as far as action economy goes. When you have too few opponents, then they get screwed in action economy. If you have way too many opponents, then they can swarm the characters, and that can go very bad very fast. So that's something else to keep into consideration when you're balancing the encounters. Is Lost Mines of Phandelver still available? I don't know. I can Google it for you. On October 6, 2023, the introductory experience Lost Mine of Phandelver will no longer be claimable. Oh, I don't know what that is. Is that like D&D Beyond or something? They're taking it away from you? I don't know what that is. Oh, they made it legacy content? Oh, okay. Any suggestion for running monsters with anti-recovery abilities, like Vecna's Afterthought or a 2024 Dracolich's Life Suppression? I don't know what either of those things are. Or do you make it a race against time? What are those? Vecna's Afterthought? I don't know what... I'm not sure what you mean by anti-recovery abilities. Vecna's Afterthought. What is that? Where can I find what that is? Yeah, I'm thinking it's anti-recovery means you can't heal or something. That's what I'm guessing. Yeah, so the Afterthought, it looks like it's a weapon. It said that there's an effect that's on them, and until they make a pretty high Constitution saving throw, they can't heal at all. So let's go back to the question. And now that I know what that is, what was the question? Any suggestions for running monsters with anti-recovery abilities? Oh. I mean, I don't. Give a monster an anti-recovery ability and then put it in your game. That's my suggestion. I don't think there's anything else needed. Like, if you're asking, well, how do the characters overcome it? That's not your problem. That's not your problem. That's their problem. You know, like, you create the monster, you create the challenges. It's up to your players to overcome them. I don't give a flying crap if they're in an entire dungeon and there's some sort of magical spell on the dungeon that prevents them from healing. Like, that's just what the environment is. That's the environment. You know, they might be traveling to the negative plane, you know, and they might have something that prevents them from just dying outright on the negative plane, but they can't heal while they're on the negative plane. And it's not my problem to solve. You know, that's not my issue. That's my player's problem. So I feel like the game master just creates stuff like that, puts it in the game, and then it's the player's responsibility to figure out how they're going to overcome it and what they're going to do. So if that's what you're asking, I wouldn't worry about it. Make the thing, put it in the game, and have fun, and then it's up to your players to figure out how they overcome that challenge. Oh my goodness, I'm back in time. If you dropped a question and I missed it, please feel free to repost it. We also have a giveaway going on, ladies and gentlemen. There's a link in the chat, not too far above, where you can join the giveaway. Just click the link. We're giving away $50 DM Lair store credit. All you got to do is enter, and then we'll draw the winner at the end of the live stream. It's free. You just put some information in, like, you know, your YouTube screen name, and click some horse crap, and then you're good to go. Is using yourself as a basis for a character a good idea? I'm not really a fan of self-inserts, but I'm not sure where to even start other than to just take elements from who I am. For context, I've never made a character for D&D, never played a game, and have only witnessed a few moments of a game. You know, I don't think I have a problem if you want to create a character based on yourself. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I feel like a lot of people are more likely to create a character that's based upon some fictitious superhero or something, like Wolverine. You know, I know when I was in high school, my friend created one of his D&D characters he created was basically Wolverine. Had regenerative abilities, had like claws that came out of his hand and stuff. Like, he recreated Wolverine, but I don't think there's any problem with using yourself as a basis for a character if that's what you want to do. Doesn't seem like it'd be a problem to me. Gamerbug says, I will run a difficult campaign. After surviving a few tough challenges, I will TPK them. But let the story continue in the underworld before seeing their rumored foe resurrected. I would... Where's the question? And have them return to the normal world to find and beat this big bad boss. What do you think? Any suggestions? I don't personally like the idea of baking in a guaranteed TPK. I understand where you're going. Like, you're trying to... The campaign idea will involve being in the underworld and stuff like that. So, like, they're all dying is a necessity, you know? I guess what I'm thinking is I would almost want to, I would want to get my players buy-in on that idea first before I just did it. Because I don't want to just, like, what I don't want to do is just kill them all in a battle that was super impossible and then have them be upset, you know, because they didn't have a chance. and then I would have to retroactively explain, well, but that's the campaign concept. Like, look, if you just wait, you'll see that this is going to be really cool. Like, I don't want to have to play that game like during the campaign. I would want buy-in on that idea before the campaign begins, so that when I do it, they're like, oh yeah, cool, this is the part where we all have to die. The challenge is, because you're taking the thing is, you're taking away agency from them. That's the real issue. They have no chance. You have decided they're all gonna die, you know, and that sort of thing is not cool in my opinion, and generally would be frowned upon. And many players could take exception to that. But the problem is that if you tell them about that to get buy-in, you've ruined a part of the game, you know. So I don't know how you could implement that without giving away part of the game to them, and without taking away their agency in a very major way without their permission. That's the rough part. I don't know, man. If you can figure out a solution, an answer to that, cool. I don't know if I have it. Because I just don't think that I would run a game that I just took away agency like that. I just don't think I would do that. I have run a game where there was an encounter that was super challenging, and they ended up losing, and they were taken hostage, and then they had to do an escape scenario, you know. And I thought they were probably going to lose because I made it challenging, but it was still possible for them to figure it out and not lose, you know. So there was a way they could have gotten out of it, but they didn't. And then I was able to run an escape scenario, which I was like, this is gonna be pretty cool, you know. They're all locked up in a jail cell basically, and they have no equipment or anything, and they got to figure out how to get out of here. Each of them was allowed to have one piece of equipment that they were able to keep on themselves that was hidden or something, you know. So like the rogue was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep a dagger, I'm gonna keep thieves' tools or something, you know. So I did stack the deck against them, but I didn't make it impossible. So I just don't know that I would just TPK them like that without their permission. And I don't have an answer for you of how to do that. How can I make it so an adult bronze dragon is in the guise of a human paladin who goes missing, and her magic fails her against a demonic treant? Sorry, I'm limited on writing, so I can't go into detail. What do you mean? I mean, you just do it. You just got to put some details around it. All you got to do is put some justification around it. Why did her magic fail her? Come up with some ideas. Why did her magic fail her? Why did she go missing? You just need some justifications and you need some context and details around those things. Just, you know, brainstorm some stuff and then pick something that sounds cool. A no-win scenario is something to get buy-in for. It rarely goes over well. Yeah, I agree. That was my whole conundrum with that campaign pitch. I just don't know a way to get buy-in on the no-win scenario without giving it away. Which is why I kind of am gravitating toward I probably just wouldn't do it. There's probably a different way to implement that campaign idea that doesn't involve TPKing them. You know? There's a different way to do it. I mean, you could probably figure out a different way to implement it that doesn't involve TPKing them in a no-win scenario, right? That doesn't involve taking away their agency in that way. If you can figure that out, then you're golden. Question. I'm about to run the final boss of my first campaign, Ebon Death, the Dracolich. And he's had a lot of build-up. I'm worried about living up to it. Any suggestions? Don't crash and burn, dude. I did the same thing. I had a boss called Lord Paxton. I built him up over the entire campaign. Man, since they were like level 5 or something, they'd been hearing about Lord Paxton. And then finally, when they were level 16, I think that's about when we ended that campaign. They fought Lord Paxton, and I gotta tell you, that battle sucked. That was not a good battle. I did not design that boss battle at all very well. It was a poopy, crappy boss battle. It was very lackluster. I could give you all the excuses and reasons, but who cares, right? All that matters at the end of the day is that it was a crappy boss fight, and it crashed and burned, and I built it up over the entire campaign, and then it sucked. You know, and it was probably a big letdown. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But not that you want to do that, you know. I feel like you can work on the stat block, you can work on special abilities, environmental effects, lair actions, legendary actions. Have something cool with the environment. The environment. Doing cool stuff with the environment for a boss battle can't be underestimated. I have 2 older videos on my channel where I literally go over a list of everything to consider for a boss fight. I think it's called the perfect boss fight, and there are 2 parts to it. It's a 2-part video series, so you could take a look at that. Minions, waves of minions are super important. Minions are super important in a boss fight. You cannot underestimate that. You should probably look at you should know what your player's characters can do by now, right? And your boss probably does too, right? Because they've been playing a whole campaign, and they're like level 15 plus now. Like, people in the world know who they are, and they know what they can do. So the boss knows what they can do too. The boss should be prepared. They should know that, oh yeah, these guys always cast Healing Word when somebody goes down, and, you know, or yeah, they love casting Fireball, so I should probably, you know, drink my resistance to fire spell or whatever, potion. So have them be prepared to counter the things the players are likely to do, so they're prepared in that regard as well. Like if your boss is a spellcaster, and there's a sorcerer and a wizard in the party, and they both can counterspell, and you know they will do it, then you can anticipate that your boss will get counterspelled every single time they try to cast a spell. So what's your boss gonna do? You know, what's your boss gonna do? Like, do they have a special ability that negates counterspell somehow so they can't be counterspelled? Like, you know, you might be like, well, you know, that's really crappy. That's nerfing your player's abilities. But it's like, well, do you want to have a spellcaster boss fight, or do you just want to have a nothing burger of a boss fight? Take your pick. So you might, for the final boss, you might consider, how can I get around the counterspell horse crap that is a thing in D&D 5th edition that basically doesn't let people play the game. So you can consider that. So those are some ideas for the boss fight. But at the end of the day, make sure your boss can do cool stuff. Oh, lair actions. Make sure that he has movement as a lair, not a lair action, as a legendary action. Make sure that movement is one of his legendary actions. Movement, you're probably going to find in a boss fight that being able to move around a battlefield is super important. And if you get locked into place and can't move around, you're in trouble. Oh, condition immunity. Make sure your boss is immune to stun. If you have a monk in your party, make sure your boss is immune to stun. Just put it in the condition immunities. Stunned. He's immune to the stunned condition. The last thing you want is your boss to get stun locked. Game over. Do not pass go. The boss fight is done in its tracks. So, and that's part of like knowing what your players can do and anticipating it and building your boss along those lines. You want it to be challenging, not impossible, obviously, but like there are so many high-level abilities and things that player characters can do in D&D 5th edition that can nullify a boss fight before it even begins. And you could put all the work and effort into building the awesome, perfect boss fight, and if something crazy happens, you know, like the monk stun locks him, it's all over, you know, and the boss fight sucks. And it's nothing you did wrong. It's nothing you did wrong. There's literally something broken in the game that, you know, well, you got stun locked. What are you going to do? Boss fight's over. And your players are going to be like, well, that boss fight sucks. Yeah, well, the monk stunned him. What do you want me to do? It's not my fault. It's friggin' stunned him, you know? Holy crap, guys. another reason I play D&D 5th edition less and less these days. Are there many folks that still play 3.5 edition? Oh, I'm sure there are. Absolutely. I absolutely assure you there are. How can we maximize the ideal experience of TTRPGs? I believe open-ended, immersive, in-character RP is the unique feature of TTRPGs that makes them different from board games, war games, and video games. Yes, you're correct. That does make them very unique. How can you maximize the ideal experience? I don't know. What is your ideal experience? Because it's going to be different than my ideal experience, which is different from that guy's and this guy's and that girl's and everybody else's, right? So, I mean, that's the real thing, because like my ideal experience of a TTRPG is I get to have some cool combats, and I also get to talk in character and do my stupid voices and stuff, right? And there's not a whole lot of exploration, because as a player, I don't like exploration. I just tune out during those parts of the game. But that's my ideal experience. Some people love exploration, right? So if you gloss, so that's the problem, right? Everybody has a different ideal experience. You know, some people love super crunchiness and they dig the crunch, and some people hate that crap and just want something rules light like Shadow Dark. So it's like, how do you make it ideal? How can you maximize it? Well, I think the first step is knowing what your players like. What do your players like in their game? What are their preferences? And then you have to lean into those things. That's the key. Find out what they like, lean into those, and maximize the inclusion of those parts of the game at your game table. But the problem is that most players have different preferences. Not everybody at your game table is going to like the same things. So if you lean into what I like, you know, this guy and that girl over there aren't going to like it as much, you know, which is why a lot of times you have a variety of different things in your game so that it appeals to most of your players' preferences, which are going to be different, you know. So I think that's almost an impossible question to answer. Mr. Brock Daddy says, I have noticed you've gotten your mojo back with your more recent videos. Glad to see. Was worried you were burning yourself out. Keep up the good work. Your videos have helped me so much. Thank you, dude. You're welcome. I'm happy to help. Yeah, I don't know. I might have. Might have been burned out. Who knows? Yeah. But you realize too that I film all of my videos on the same day. So like, for instance, last week I filmed all of my June videos. Yeah, I filmed all of my June videos and one video for July, all in one day. And so if I'm having a crappy day, and I'll be honest, man, sometimes you have those days. If I'm having a crappy day and it's filming day, guess what? You're gonna get 4 subpar crappy videos where I am not on the ball, because it's just my crappy day fell on filming day, and here we go, you know. So there's always a possibility that I just had a crappy day, and I was stressed or overworked or something, you know. Just too much crap that's got to get done. But I'm glad that the videos seem to not be as, like, you know, whatever, lackluster. Roberto says, hey Luke, are you enjoying Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Is it working for your group? So, I mean, we're having fun with it. We've been playing it for a little over a year now, I think. Is that right? A little over a year? Yeah. And I think it's still enjoyable in a lot of ways. But I'm also ready to try a different game system too. So we're right now, the plan is to finish up my Pathfinder 2 campaign, which is going to take us a while. But once we finish that up, the goal is to move on to a Call of Cthulhu campaign, which Cat is on the book. But come on, get off the book. So that's why it's on my desk, because I read it, because I'm getting ready for this. It's probably going to be a while. I don't know. It could be 6 months before we start playing Call of Cthulhu. So I like Pathfinder 2. It's fun, but there are some things about it that, like I feel like the level of crunch is beyond my taste. I'm finding more and more that I enjoy rules light systems like Shadow Dark. I want to try out. There's other ones I want to try out too that are more rules light, like Castles and Crusades. I want to try that out a little bit. I've played it a couple times, and I have all the books. And then DCC, I want to try that out a little bit. I guess what I'm getting at is like I played Pathfinder 2 for like a year or so, and I'm kind of like, I'm ready to try something else now. And so we're gonna go to Call of Cthulhu. We're gonna see how Call of Cthulhu is. I don't know how long we're gonna play Call of Cthulhu, because I'm doing it more as like an experiment to just do something very different than I normally do. And I played Call of Cthulhu as a player in conventions, and I've had fun. But I like combat, man. I like tactical combat, and Call of Cthulhu is not a combat game, obviously. So I don't know how long we're gonna play Call of Cthulhu. Once we start doing it, we're gonna just kind of play it by ear. I bought some pre-made adventures and stuff to play, and so we'll play. I'm sure we'll end up playing it for a year or something, more than likely. We'll play it for a good chunk of time. I don't know. I mean, I haven't actually run Call of Cthulhu yet, so it's like, here's the thing: if I were a player, I don't think I would want to be in a long-running Call of Cthulhu campaign. As a player, I don't think I would enjoy that, because I don't like exploration that much in my games. And Call of Cthulhu is a lot of exploration elements. Like, there's social interaction, that's a big pillar, but exploration is another big pillar in Call of Cthulhu games, and combat is very much minimized. So I feel like as a player, I would probably not enjoy an ongoing Call of Cthulhu campaign. I say that probably because I've never done it before, so I don't know. As a game master, though, I'm different, right? I don't mind running exploration scenes as a game master. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm perfectly fine with that. My taste as a game master, what I do as a game master is different than my taste as a player. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it's just the way it is. So, but we're gonna try it out. We're gonna see how it goes. But yeah, there's some crunchy elements in Pathfinder 2 that are just not to my liking. It's too crunchy for my taste, I feel like. But there are lots of other things I love about it too. There are lots of things I really like about it. If we could take the elements that I like and then get rid of some of that crunch that I don't like, I think we'd have a nice mix. Yeah, O'Nell 21. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. Yeah, I definitely like rules light games. I like rules light much more than rules heavy. Rules heavy kind of just doesn't do it for me. Not anymore. I don't know. I just don't have it doesn't interest me to read tons of rules and keep track of them all and look them up and try to memorize them, and oh my gosh, I'd rather just have a rules light game that I can let's just play the game, baby. Let's just make this smooth. I'll just make crap up. We'll just go. We'll have fun. And we don't got to worry about all these stupid rules, man. And more, that's just what I want to do, Waffle Dream says there's a Shadow Dark event on Start Playing Games. If you can, you should get into it. I don't have time, man. I'm sorry. There's no stinking way. You should see my calendar. I'm just like, no way. Amber Phoenix Fire. Hey, what up? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Call of Cthulhu is a bit crunchy as well, and I have lots of exploration and investigation. I don't know if you'll enjoy it. I don't know. Yeah, the thing that Roberto, the thing that I'm not sure about Call of Cthulhu is that running a Call of Cthulhu pre-made module, because it's it's mystery, right? I mean, everybody's like it's horror, but it's really mystery, you know, and you're investigating and stuff. All these details and things are important, right? And what I'm accustomed, the way that I normally run pre-made adventures is I read it, I will highlight some stuff, I'll maybe take some notes, and then when I'm running it, I don't refer to it a whole lot. I try not to spend too much time actually reading it when I'm running the game. I try to just go off from my memory, and then I'll just make stuff up and improvise as needed in order to keep the game running smoothly, right? And my fear with Call of Cthulhu is that because of the mystery aspect and how important some of these details are going to be and the clues and all these different things, my fear is that my standard way of just improvising and making crap up might not work as well, because then things might not fit together. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's gonna be more challenging for me to run some of these pre-made adventures and stuff, you know, because I think that one of the things that tends to define my games is they are what I call smooth games. You're playing the game, it's nonstop, you're just doing stuff, you know what I mean? And we're not pausing to look up rules, we're not pausing for me to read an adventure module or read an adventure, or you're just playing, you're going, you know what I mean? It's a smooth, I don't know how to call it, it's a smooth experience. You know, you've been in the games, you've all been in the games that are just like herky jerky, you know, you're playing, and then it's like, oh, we got to take a break again because, like, you know, the game master has to look up a rule, or this player doesn't know how their spell works, you know, we got to pause the game to figure this out, you know, or, oh, the game master's got to read the adventure module because they don't know what information the NPC has to share with us, and they got to find the entry for it, you know, instead of just making something up, you know. So that's my concern with Call of Cthulhu. I feel like it's going to be challenging for me to run these pre-made adventures. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. I could be wrong. You never know until you do it. So that's why I said this is an experiment. It's an experiment. I'll see how I like running Call of Cthulhu. It may not be my cup of tea, you know. And that's not an indictment on Call of Cthulhu. That's just like, this is Luke's personal preference. He doesn't like this. He might not like this type of game, you know, and that's fair, you know, for anybody. Not everything can be everybody's cup of tea. It just doesn't work that way. Simon Rogers says, I really struggle with Call of Cthulhu as the original 1920s setting, but a modern version, Delta Green, is Call of Cthulhu modern day and is way better. Yeah, my friend Ed plays Delta Green, and he likes it a lot. Now, I like the 1920s setting. There's something about it that I think is just really cool. Now, I also bought a whole bunch of Lovecraft's books too, so I'm currently reading all of his horror story books. Well, they're not really books; they're more like short story collections. But I'm reading a bunch of Lovecraft's books too, so to learn the lore of the world and to kind of get a feel for all of that kind of stuff that he does. You know, now the books I like. I like reading Lovecraft books. Those are pretty cool. Those are really interesting. I like it. So I'm enjoying those. And it's really interesting to read. Most of the authors that I've read in my life, I've read classics, you know, like The Tale of Two Cities, which, by the way, Tale of Two Cities, amazing book. But I've read classics like that, or like, you know, Jack London classics and stuff. And those are older authors, you know, from like, you know, a different century or something. But most of the books I've read are like modern day authors, you know, written in the 80s or 90s or something. And it's really interesting reading a book written by somebody in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, but like, and probably early 1900s, but like reading the books, Lovecraft's books, there's a very pronounced and different writing style that I find really cool and enjoyable. It's very different from other stuff that I typically read. So anyway, I'm enjoying that stuff. Gamerbug says, that's impressive that you film all on one day. Oh, it's easy though. You know how easy it is to film everything on one day? Like, seriously, like it takes me about an hour and a half to set up all of my filming equipment, you know, and then each video takes me maybe a half an hour to film. So I got an hour and a half, and then I'm up to 3.5 hours, and then probably an hour to tear down. I have everything set up, filming, tear down, takes place in, let's call it 5 hours. Takes place 5 hours. That's the way to do it. You batch that crap together, you know. Now the script writing, that takes place over the course of the month leading up to filming day, and so I'm writing the scripts in advance. You know, I'm not doing those on the day that I filmed. But yeah, it's batch filming is the way to do it. It's the way to do it. Now, for a few months, I was doing 2 videos a week, and one of those videos was not batch filmed. It was just like filmed ad hoc with my webcam, or it was pulled from a live stream or something, you know. But if it's one of my like really well produced videos, then those are all batch filmed. Now, the only downside to batch filming, of course, is that like there's a lot of news items that come out that you can't react to, you can't give your 2 cents on, you know, because there are YouTubers that pretty much their entire channel is dedicated to reacting to TTRPG news. You know, like Wizards of the Coast does something stupid again, they have a video out the next day talking about it, you know. And there's probably like flames in the thumbnails and stuff, and the world, it just got worse and the world is ending. You know how they do that stuff. So like, I mean, there are some YouTube channels that's all they do, you know. And so you can't batch film if that's your thing, because you have to wait for a newsworthy item that's like worth doing a flaming thumbnail video on, and then as soon as that thing happens, you gotta like make your video, you know. And so you can't batch film. So that's why you see far fewer of those sorts of videos from me than other people, because like Wizards could do something stupid tomorrow and I have all of June videos already filmed. What am I gonna do? Talk about it in July? But here's the thing, I already have my July videos planned. I've already told Ed, my friend Ed helps me do the researching for the topics of the videos. I've already given Ed his assignments for most of July, and he's already turned in one of the research topic things. He gives me bullet points about the topic so that I can make my script and stuff, you know. And one of the scripts, I wrote one of the scripts today for July's video. So I can't even, so if Wizards did something stupid tomorrow, I couldn't even talk about it in July. I'd have to wait till like, what's after July? August? Unless I did an extra video or something, and I don't want to do extra videos. So it's like, that's the downside of batch filming. But to be perfectly fair, like there's already enough people that do those sorts of videos reacting to like news crap anyway. So like, do you really need somebody else doing those sorts of like reaction videos that's just reiterating, literally reading a news article and then telling you their opinion on the matter? How many people do you need to do that, right? And besides which, if I really wanted to do that, I could just do it in a live stream or something and be like, hey guys, check this out, let's go read this and I'll just tell you my thoughts on it, you know? So I don't know. Nixit, what are you talking about? Nixit says, I'm serious, Luke, contact me, I can help you instead. I don't know what you're talking about. Help me with what? I obviously missed something. Lionheart says, question, did you start planning any sessions after your Brownstein stream with Harmony Ginger? What do you mean, did I start planning any sessions? What does that mean? What are you asking? I'm not sure what you mean. I know what stream you're talking about, but I'm not sure what that has to do with planning sessions. Yeah, Call of Cthulhu is going to be a great change of pace from D&D for sure. Yeah. Got a cat hair in my mouth or something, man. It's like in my teeth. The Critical Role Candela Obscura is a very fun rules-light game that is the same genre as Call of Cthulhu. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I already bought all of the Call of Cthulhu stuff, so I'm pretty much all in Call of Cthulhu at this point. It's gonna be, and one of my players has bought the Call of Cthulhu book, so it's Call of Cthulhu, but I appreciate the information. The Two-Headed Serpent, that sounds super familiar. Pulp Cthulhu, Luke. Characters are beefier and have more abilities to survive. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about Pulp Cthulhu. Yeah, I'm familiar with the general idea of it, at least, yeah. Captain Skuldy says, "Hi, I want to start playing D&D and want to ask how hard it is to starting as a DM with no D&D experience." You'll be fine, dude. Just do it. Rock and roll, baby. Start playing. Just jump in and learn how to do it. How hard is it? I don't know. I mean, that's how I started playing D&D. I got the books. I read the books. I found some players, and I was like, let's play, guys. And I started running the game. So there are lots of people that start out by dungeon mastering first without ever having played before, and they just jump in and do it. And so just do it, man. You'll be fine. It might be rough at first, and you're not going to be very good, and that's okay, because nobody is any good at the thing they do the first time they do it. So like, if you suck, you suck. Who cares? Just go have some fun. And by the way, if you're playing with people who've never played before, like let's pretend you got a bunch of friends, right? And you're like, and they're all like, "Let's play D&D, baby," and then they're just like, "Well, who's going to be the dungeon master?" And they all point at you. Well, great news, dude. None of them have played before, and so their expectations probably aren't very high. Now, they may have watched things like Stranger Things and have an idea, or they might watch like Critical Role or something, but like, everybody with half a brain knows that a real D&D game almost never looks anything like a Critical Role show, So like, I wouldn't worry too much about players judging you and thinking horse crappery, And if they do, just tell them, "Okay, well then you be the DM next time and see how you do." And they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, never mind. You're good, man. You're good. I approve." You'll be fine. Just jump in and have fun, dude. It's all good. Lionheart says Luke has a pretty helpful Discord, although they will expect you to have more specific questions than "please teach me everything." Yes, absolutely. I will too. Like, if you ask me, "Please teach me everything," I will be like, "You gotta be more specific, man. What do you want to know? Give me a good, useful question. Something I can do something with." Roberto says Wizard of the Coast doing something stupid. Nah, that never happens. It's been a while, though. If you think about it, they haven't done anything stupid in a while. Like, something's gotta happen. It's been quiet. It's been really quiet. Like, I haven't seen any flaming videos for a spell. So something's gotta happen. Oh, Nixit, you've run Call of Cthulhu for over 5 years? Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the starter set. I'm just gonna jump in, dude. I'm just gonna run it. I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. We'll have fun. I'm gonna fill this up. Yeah, I have the starter set. I have all the core books and everything. I got some pre-made adventures and stuff. I played it. So I played Call of Cthulhu many times as a player, so I'll be fine. Like, I'm a smart dude. I'll figure it out. I'll do a good job. And if I don't, my players will smile and pretend like I did, and we'll all be happy. They'll be like, "Luke sucks as a dungeon." What do they call him? Keeper of Secrets? Is it Keeper of Secrets? Is that the whole? I know Keeper, but I think it's Keeper of Secrets or Keeper of Mysteries or something like that. They'll be like, "Luke sucks as a keeper." Yeah, but he's running a game for us and we're eating pizza, so we'll just smile and be happy, Raptor says, "Hey, I'm a new DM and we played 2 sessions so far, and I got a few complaints about the pacing being slow." Okay, so your players have complained the pacing is slow. Okay. "We have about 3 hours and we just have a lot of fun with random stuff. How can I improve this?" Well, what do they mean by pacing? Are they talking about accomplishing story objectives? Because you mentioned you have a lot of fun with random stuff, right? So if they're all just doing random, so if some of the players are doing random stuff and you're just rolling with it, but there's also a larger like plot and story, and there's no progress being made toward resolving that, then that might be what your two players are complaining about with the pacing, you know. And they might want to be resolving that larger plot and ongoing story, you know, as opposed to just doing random stuff. You know, like how many times are you gonna like climb up a tree and jump out of it before like the other players are like, okay, dude, just stop it with the climbing up trees and jumping out of it. I literally had a player, that's what she wanted to do. She literally just wanted to like have her character climb up trees and jump out of them. I crap you not. That's what she wanted to do. And it's like, how much of a game session are you gonna dedicate to climbing up trees and jumping out of them before the other players are gonna be like, this sucks, let's do something real, you know? So yes, you can't fill up your entire game session with random crap and random stuff. There needs to be some progress being made toward that overarching plot problem, that thing you've introduced. And so that might be, if I were struggling with that, I would probably have a simple, candid conversation with my players. I would just call a timeout and I'd be like, hey guys, I know we're having tons of fun doing these goofy random things, but there are some other players that have spoken with me and they are also very interested in continuing forward with this plot line over here that's going on, and they want to see progress toward that. So we need to reduce the amount of goofy random stuff that we're doing so that we can have those, so that those players can also enjoy the game as we progress toward doing those things. So we need to like have some more of a balance here and rein in this stuff so we can do that stuff. I would just have a simple candid conversation about that. And then that way what you're trying to do is get those players that like the random, stupid, goofy stuff to cooperate more so that the other players who want to progress the main plot line, you know, can be satisfied with their game experience as well. You know, because yes, if you only play for 3 hours and you make no progress and you're just doing random crap, then yeah, I mean, I would probably not be having fun as a player because we're just doing random crap that I know is meaningless. The world is burning and bad people are doing bad things and we're screwing around and doing random crap. I would also be one of those people complaining about pacing and be like, yeah, let's go do something real, you know, for a change. So I can see that for sure. But I think that you just have a conversation and then you should be able to figure that out. So Jerry says the DM should control excessive random stuff. It's easy to say that on paper, but what you really want is you want your players to cooperate. You want them to rein themselves in, you know, because it's not, the dungeon master can't just be the one who lays down the law and gets everybody in line. It can't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It is a collaborative game. Everybody at that game table needs to be on the same page to some extent and be working toward the same goal, you know, of having a fun experience for everybody. The game master can't be the law. You can't be the sheriff in town, you know, that's gonna pistol whip somebody if they get out of hand. It can't work that way. You don't want it to work that way. Man, you know how onerous that would be if as the game master, that's all you do is constantly like hand out demerits and stuff and like write-ups to players who are like out of line, who aren't like cooperating with the shared experience and contributing to the overall fun. No. You want your players to be on the same page. You want everyone to be cooperating together toward having that fun shared game experience. So like, to a certain extent, yes, game master has to be prepared to lay down the law, but you don't want that to be your ongoing experience over every game session where you're constantly having to like, hey guys, come on, let's stop with the random crap. Remember, we want to go actually play this part of the game too. Like, that can't be your every single game session. You'll just want to like blow your brains out at that point, or don't do that. Just quit before you do that, obviously. But you can't play the game that way, man. That's miserable. If I had to play sheriff and police every single game session with my players, no way, dude. I will kick a player out of my game way before I'm gonna start playing like, you know, policeman in every game session. I'm not there to be a policeman and like lay down the law and make sure everybody like follows it and doesn't do all this stupid horse crap. If I have one or two players that just after having a conversation are unwilling to cooperate and like make sure that everybody is having fun, and they just keep on doing the same random stupid bullcrap that I've already talked with them about, then I'm gonna kick them out of the group long before I'm gonna like freak out, have an aneurysm, and melt down. Like, I'm not gonna deal with it. You know, I'm not gonna deal with it. It's not my job to constantly like rein people in and like, you know, try to stamp out their bad behaviors. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna kick them out of the group way before I have to mess with that crap. You know, well, I'll probably deal with it a little bit until I'm like, this is stupid, and then just boot them. You know, like, you guys, if you don't call them this out, you're gone. You know what I mean? But if I'm at the point where I'm threatening to kick somebody out, I'm not even gonna threaten to kick them out. I'm just kicking them out. If I'm already that far like done, they're gone. So yeah, you can't just lay down the law every game session. That's a miserable experience. You know, and if you need to lay down the law like that every single game session, you got some problem players that need to refine their behavior or leave. No, I've never played Earth Dawn. I've never played that. I have, feel free to, if I missed one of your comment or one of your questions or whatever, just drop it in the chat again and I'll get to it. I might have missed some. Feel free to repost them. I also have a form that I link in the bottom of almost every one of my videos that people can ask me questions. And so I'm going to go through some of those right now on the stream here, since I've run out of things in the chat for the time being. I'm going to answer some of these things. But if you're catching this live stream after the fact, that form is linked down in the description and hopefully the pinned comment, if I remember to put it there. And so you can go to that form and ask me questions, and I'll probably answer them in the next live stream. So I'm going to go to the form right now, and I'll answer some of these questions. All right, so the first one here, I like this one. How do you incorporate gunpowder effects without gunpowder? Pirate pistols and warship cannons, cannonballs, grape shot, Greek fire, etc. If you want to keep your setting pre-gunpowder, how can you best emulate the ideas that almost scream you need guns for this? I have a feeling that what you're dealing with right now, dear Dungeon Master, is you as a Dungeon Master want to keep your campaign pre-gunpowder, but your players want to emulate effects that are accomplished with gunpowder. And you're trying to figure out a way to allow them to do those things without introducing gunpowder into your campaign. I can't help but feel like this is the like quandary you're in. Because I've been there before. Players want to do gunpowdery stuff and you're like, there is no gunpowder. And they're like, yeah, but. And so like, what do you do? Okay, so I have two solutions for you. One of them is the solution I would take, and the other one is a solution I will give you as like a compromise. So the compromise solution is to say, okay, no gunpowder, but magic. This is what Eberron does. Like, I don't think there's any gunpowder in Eberron, but you have pistols and you have rifles, and they function via magic, right? Because Eberron is a very high magic game setting. And so you have a lot of these technological advancements like railroads and flying airships and stuff, but it's all accomplished through a combination of technological advancements, but those technological advancements are fueled by magic. So if you want that, magic. But the real solution, what I would really do, is if you have a pre-gunpowder game setting, and especially if it's mid-magic or low magic, and your players are trying to do gunpowdery stuff, like, tell them no. It's like, guys, this is not the world you live in. Those things are not possible. That does not exist. It does not exist. The answer is no. There's nothing wrong with telling them no. When players are I had a player once who wanted to use downtime to learn how to get an extra attack. Can you imagine? My immediate answer was no, you can't do that. That is not an acceptable use of downtime. You cannot use a week of downtime, to learn how to get an extra attack on every round. Not possible. Not possible. There are many instances where the appropriate answer to a player's request or something they want to do is no. And if you have a game setting that where gunpowder does not exist and players want to emulate effects that require gunpowder, then it is a perfectly acceptable response to say no. It's perfectly acceptable. All right, got that one. Oh, Raptor, you put yours in the form. Hold on a second. I'm a new DM. I'm having trouble with pacing. We played 2 sessions so far, and in both sessions I've had complaints about the pacing being too slow. And in the 3 hour, 30 minutes we have to play, I agreed I've described and played situations that shouldn't have taken as long as they have. How do I improve on it? And do you have any general tips on pacing sessions? Oh, okay, so there's actual scenarios and stuff that take too long as well. You have to analyze what's causing them to take so long. Like, if your combats are taking too long, you need to deep dive into your combats to try to figure out why they're taking too long. If your social interactions are taking too long, or your explorations are taking too long, like, you have to, I mean, I don't have an easy answer for you. If you have a problem with pacing because there are certain scenes or situations or things that are taking too long, then you need to analyze those things and determine what's causing them to take so long. Like, let's just pretend you have combat taking too long. Well, pay attention during your combats and notice the things that take too much time, and especially the things that cumulatively take too much time. So if you're analyzing your combat and you notice that on every single player's turn, the entire table has a discussion about what they should do, and it causes their turn to take way longer, well then, and that happens on every player's turn, if you get rid of the committee discussions, your combats are going to be way faster. So you have to analyze and pay attention and look at those things. And then once you can analyze what the root problem is, the root cause, then you can be like, okay, how do I fix this? Okay, how do I fix this? Okay, what can I do here? You know, to improve the pacing in certain areas so that things go faster. Now, remember too that fast does not always mean better. You can have something that takes a long time at the game table, but everybody's enjoying themselves. So don't be misled into thinking that faster is always better. That's not always true. However, slow and boring is almost always bad, right? Especially if you have the boring tacked on. Slow can be good as long as everybody's excited about it and having fun. But if it's boring and it feels like a slog, that's an issue. But you got to look at it, you got to analyze it, you got to root cause problem solve it. That's the solution. I don't have I don't have like a fix all for that. You know, it's going to involve you doing some homework and creative problem solving. You know. Question: world-shattering food choice: anchovies on pizza? Yes or no? No, I don't like anchovies. Yeah, keep seafood away from pizza. Yeah, I don't like seafood anyway. So I don't like fish. I especially don't like fish. There are some exceptions. There is some fish I do like. And by the way, if you have to batter and deep fry fish and then dip it into tartar sauce, you're not really eating fish at that point, right? So like, you can't say you like fish. If it's got to be battered and deep fried and dipped in tartar sauce, you're not really eating fish at that point. I mean, you're eating a food that is partially composed of fish, but that's not really fish, right? That's something totally different. So just want to make clear we're on the same page when I say fish, what I mean by fish. Because you give me like fish and chips. Yeah, of course it's delicious. It's freaking heavily battered, deep fried. I'm dipping it in tartar sauce. Yeah, of course it tastes good. Are you kidding me? Roberto says, I'm currently running a Pathfinder 2nd edition campaign in the Plane of Water. Oh, cool. It's low level, 2 to 8. Do you have cool ideas to introduce? I love asking people for ideas. A Plane of Water idea? Oh, I don't know, man. So this is how I get my ideas. I look at monsters. I don't get my ideas out of thin air. What I do is I look at monsters. So what I would do for Plane of Water is I would immerse myself in the monster manuals. There's like 3 of them. They're not called monster manuals, but you know what I'm talking about. I would immerse myself in those. I'd find all the aquatic monsters. I'd read about those. And some of the, just immersing myself in that is going to spark some ideas. I might read about like I might go on Wikipedia and read about different underwater crap to just give me some ideas. I might look at photos of things underwater. I might look at like shipwrecks, underwater shipwrecks and stuff. I would just kind of immerse myself in the topic, the theme, you know, and then see what cool ideas are sparked. And then another thing that I would do is I would take unrelated situations and say, how would I do this underwater, right? So something like there might be an adventure or that you really like, or something from a movie, right, that is a cool situation. And then you say to yourself, how would I do this underwater? You know, what if this entire dungeon were part of a coral reef? You know, what if they're in a shipwreck? You know, they're exploring an underground shipwreck, and then all of a sudden it falls into like one of those ravines or something, and they get sucked into the middle of the earth. I don't know. I would just go down rabbit holes of thoughts and stuff, you know. So I'm not giving you answers. What I'm giving you is the methodology that I would use to come up with cool ideas, you know, and creative ideas. And then when something strikes you as like, oh, that sounds awesome, and you get excited to make that dungeon, to make that adventure, well, then you know you have something cool. You have a good idea. Because if you're excited about it, then your players are probably going to enjoy it. Raptor says yes. I wasn't sure where you were reading the questions. But yeah, if you leave questions in that spreadsheet, I'm probably going to answer them on a live stream, almost assuredly. It'll be on a live stream. It won't be in like a regular video or anything. Amber Phoenix Fire says no is the greatest weapon in the DM's arsenal. When players ask for things that will break the game. Yep, it sure is. Sometimes no is the best thing you can say. And players that ask for crazy, stupid stuff, they should expect you to say no. But I was having this conversation today, I think, with somebody I was talking to. And the number one reason that players will ask for things that are just dumb and broken, like getting an extra attack for a downtime, is because there are game masters who will say yes. And they say yes, maybe out of ignorance, but I think a lot of game masters say yes because they're afraid to say no. They don't have the courage to say no, because that's a difficult conversation, right? That could result in a little bit of tension. You know, if a player wants to do something and you say no, you know, it's like, oh no, I'm gonna say no, and they're not gonna like it, and that results in tension, and I can't handle it. And then I think that there are players who know that, you know, and so they will be like, they'll know that they're gonna ask this thing, and that the game master might say yes, not because they want to, but because they're afraid to say no. And so yeah, you gotta be able to say no to stuff. Sushi, I don't know. Sushi just doesn't have any. So Servic, what's up, Servic? I have 2 problems with sushi. Problem number 1, there's not much flavor to it. It doesn't taste like a whole lot of anything, right? Problem number 2, it's expensive. Why am I paying that much for fish and seaweed and rice? You tell me that. I once took my daughter to a sushi place, and she got a sushi roll. It wasn't huge, but it wasn't small either. I crap you not. This thing was about $20, and she ate it in like a minute, and it was gone. She just inhaled it. I think it's I think, what is it? I think it's Korean. Is it Korean? There's one of these. I think she was really into this Korean boy band, and one of the things that they do a lot is they'll take an entire bowl of noodles and they'll literally just kind of like swallow the whole thing without chewing at all. I don't know if that's a Korean culture thing or if it was just this boy band and young people that did stupid stuff. But like, so she's literally just like inhaling just this sushi, and it was gone in under a minute. And I'm just like, I'm in my head, I'm just like, this is the last time I take you to an expensive sushi place. Last time. That's never happening again. Oh my gosh. Didn't even taste it. It's just gone. But I don't know. I probably don't know what I'm talking about. How would you go about using your DM layer content in a Call of Cthulhu game? I have no idea. Because there's so much, it's D&D and there's so much combat, right? How do you adapt that for Call of Cthulhu? And Call of Cthulhu's mystery, you know? Most of our adventures aren't based on mysteries. So I don't think there's a very good correlation there. There might be an adventure here or there that you could kind of convert over, but I don't think you're gonna have an easy time of it. It would probably be easier to just make your own Call of Cthulhu adventure, in my opinion. And you have to translate from medieval times to, like, I mean, 1920 is still the modern era compared to like medieval times, you know. So you got so many conversion and translation issues off the bat that you're not gonna have a fun time at it. It's gonna be easier to probably just write stuff from scratch. David Holland says, Luke, would you ever consider DMing at Green Dragon Fest? Yeah, heck yeah, I would love to do that. I would totally be down for that. I have never been invited to do it. So if you're not invited to do something, you don't do it, because you don't get invited. But I would totally do that. I think that would be awesome. I would love to do that. The whole concept sounds amazing, and I would love to hang out with my peers, other YouTubers and stuff. And I love meeting all of you guys at conventions and stuff. And so the whole idea of a super premium thing like Green Dragon Fest, I think it's an amazing idea. So yeah, I would totally be down with that. Yeah, if I get an invite to do it, I'll be down for it, man. All right, Roberto, we'll see you later, dude. Have a good day, buddy, or a good night, I suppose. Fantally, what up, dude? I've been tuna poor, where that ended up being too many of my meals because it was cheap. Really got burned out on it. Oh, tuna. Yeah, canned tuna can be pretty inexpensive. When I was like in college, I could get a can of tuna for like 33 cents. I could basically get 3 cans of tuna for $1 when I was in college. It was like one of the most economical sources of protein, and I was really into lifting and stuff, you know. So I tried to eat a bunch of protein, and canned tuna was one of the cheapest types of protein I could get, and it's really good protein. It's lean, super lean and stuff, you know. Yeah, but you're right. Canned tuna has gotten way more expensive. Absolutely. See, when I taste sushi, I've tried different types of sushi, and it doesn't taste fishy to me. It just tastes very bland. I mean, I might be at the wrong place. That's totally fair. But the sushi I've tried has been bland, you know, and it's just kind of like, why am I eating this? There's no flavor to it, man. But to be perfectly fair, many restaurants I go to, whether it's whatever type of food they're offering, it's bland. Because we're in the United States. Like, most restaurants in the US have bland food. That's just, unfortunately, the state of affairs. You can get 4 or 5 sushi rolls for about $25 and they're really good. Oh yeah, then I have not seen that. Jennifer says part of the problem is that really good sushi is hard to get here in the States. Oh yeah, I believe it. I mean, good food in general is hard to get here in the United States. Like where I live, like there's like, I can count the number of good restaurants I know of on one hand. Like that's it, you know? And so when my wife and I are like, where are we gonna go eat tonight? You know, if we're gonna go eat somewhere, we're like, well, there's this place, and this place. This is an easy choice because every other place we've tried sucks. It's hard to find good restaurants in the US. It just is. It's really hard. If you want good food from all over the world, come to Tucson. We have an amazing food culture here. Oh, that sounds great. I like meat. I need meat, man. Meat. My wife likes Italian food, but I hate Italian food. It's all pasta. Yeah, they got meat in it, but I don't want pasta. I want a plate of meat. Give me like meat, man, with like maybe a little carb or something on the side, but I mostly want meat. And you can't get that at an Italian restaurant. It's like, and the meat they do give you is like breaded and stuffed with cheese or it's got sauces on it, and those sauces will kill you. Oh, dude. So yeah, my wife likes Italian, but it's not doable. Oh, the bland food is part of the Midwest. Oh, why do I live here? I want to move to South Dakota. That's where I want to move. Like, if I could move to South Dakota, that would be amazing. I love South Dakota. It's really cool. Oh, my wife is from Central America, so when she cooks, it's amazing. Oh. Brazilian barbecue. Jennifer, you are so right. I at Gamehole Con. No, it's not Gamehole Con. Was it Gamehole Con? Where was it? No, we were just traveling out west. It might have been Gamehole Con or somewhere around that area, but it was Wisconsin for sure. But it was like Carnivore or something. I think the name of it was Carnivore. But there was a Brazilian barbecue place. Oh, it was so good. I think it was called Carnivore or something like that. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. We're literally traveling out west again this spring to like what is it, Idaho, Utah, and Grand Canyon and stuff. And I literally have planned to stop and eat at this Brazilian barbecue place. It was so good. It was expensive, don't get me wrong, but holy crap, it was really good. So yeah, we'll be going there again. It was very nice. Korean barbecue? Yeah, I don't know if this is a Korean thing. I think this is a Japanese steakhouse thing. But you know those Japanese restaurants where they like the chef is at the grill, and then there's a bunch of people literally seated around the grill where he's making the food. Yeah, I hate those. I can't stand those. I've been to that. I've been to one of those once, and I hate the idea. First of all, having to sit next to strangers as you eat your meal, I hate that crap. That was very unenjoyable to have to do that. I would rather just, the food wasn't bad, but it's just like, just cook it in the kitchen and bring it to me, man. But Korean barbecue is probably different because we have been to a Korean place and it wasn't like that at all. So I think that's just a Japanese thing, or at least this style of restaurant. And that might not even be a Japanese thing. That just might be an American thing where they do that in some of these places, and it's really expensive too. Those Japanese steakhouse places where they cook the food at a grill in front of you are crazy expensive too. Oh, we have a giveaway going on right now, guys. You can sign up in the description, in the chat. We're giving away $50 DM Lair store credit. All you got to do is click the link in the chat, type in some crap, enter, and then we'll draw the winner in about 5 minutes. You can win $50 DM Lair store credit. You pay for the show in those kinds of restaurants? Yeah, and I don't care about the show. I don't need you to flip food into my mouth. I really don't care. It's not that exciting. And my wife hated it. My wife hated it. She was like, can't we just go sit at a booth somewhere? That's only a specific type of Japanese cooking that's been heavily Americanized. That's not all Japanese. Yeah, I mean, I believe that for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of that type of thing. Mongolian barbecue. Oh, I do not like Mongolian barbecue. Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I've been there a few times and I do not like it. It is so expensive. It's like $30 or more for one person to eat. No way. I will not do that. No way. To then stand in long lines to have them cook your food. Oh man, I'm not doing that. That's crazy stuff. Another question from the form. What's your advice for making read aloud text for descriptions? Do you think it's necessary to have them? No, it's not necessary to have them at all. They're 100% optional. You do want to give narrative descriptions of a scene, like a room or whatever, when your players enter it, but you don't have to write read aloud text. Oh my gosh, I suspect that there are very few game masters who write read aloud text for their adventures when they're making them. Give yourself a couple bullet points and then just improvise. Is probably the way to do it. Now, I do happen to I personally do write a lot of read aloud text for my adventures, but I think that I am the rare exception. I don't think most game masters do that. I think it's just the thing that I do, you know. Waffle Dream says, I turn the box text from modules into bullet points that I read from. Yeah, I tend to just read the box text. Like, if box text is available, I just read it. I read it usually. I have a small note that reminds me of the full blurb. Yeah. I do bullet points. I like to improvise the specifics. Yeah, if you're making your own adventure, bullet points are probably the way to do it, and then you just improvise stuff on the fly. Now that said, I'm writing an adventure right now for my Shadow Dark campaign, and I'm doing read aloud text, like full read aloud text, you know, for it. But it's online too, so it's really easy. When you're running an online game, it's really easy to do read aloud text because like my Word document is open right here and I just read from it. You know, it's not like I have to have my nose in a book or something, you know, so I don't know. I like doing read aloud text. I don't always do it though. I tried to read aloud text in my current campaign and I honestly love it. My only struggle is to come up with good text to read. And with English being my second language, I often find myself cornered. Sir Vic, use ChatGPT or AI program of your choice. You will be shocked at how good a job it does. And it's read aloud text for your private game. Pff, there's no moral quandaries there, dude. Just type in some brief descriptions, you know, some bullet points, and then let it go. It'll do a good job, man. Let's see that. Let's mark that one. Let's mark that one for good. Oh, wow. Here's a longer one. I'm just a watcher of your YouTube video. I'm reading this from the forum, by the way, where people ask questions. I'm just a watcher of your YouTube videos. I'm from Germany and just a little not so good GM. But I think I have a good perception on people and watched your video of your canceled crowdfund. They talk about Dungeon Drifters. I just want to say your content is awesome and you're a great guy. I just meant to write something nice from the other side of the world to boost in your mood. Stuff will be good in the future. A question as a GM would be like, I as a player and some other players of mine aren't very satisfied with dual wielding in D&D. And the typical fighter dual wielding extra attacks and the typical dual wielding extra attacks, period. You got a better option than giving a level 20 fighter like 8 attacks because 5 is like crappy. No, I don't. I don't really have a solution for the dual wielding thing in D&D 5th edition. But I don't think saying 5 is bad is probably very accurate either. That's a lot of attacks, you know. If you want to give them 8 attacks, give them 8 attacks. But I have not homebrewed anything with dual wielding that I can really tell you. I would just brainstorm some solutions and play around with them and play test some stuff and see what your party likes, you know. But I don't really have a solution. I don't do a whole lot of homebrewing of player option stuff. I just don't. I mostly homebrew on the game master side of things. Mark that guy. Do you like Shadow of the Demon Lord Weird Wizard? I have no idea what that is. That's your answer. There we go. Gamerbug says, to stay on topic while getting back on topic, what ideas could you come up with using food in a D&D story that would make it fun? Food? Oh, I'd have it come alive and be a monster or something. I don't know. that's my contribution to the topic. Food becomes a monster. It's a hamburger. It's gonna kill you, man. Cervix says, I did try ChatGPT once to describe a city. I took bullet points from it and formed it into my own text. Worked great, but I feel a little iffy on the whole AI part. What do you feel iffy about? Dude, if it's for your private game, there's no moral quandaries, dude. All it's doing is reducing your effort and your time. It's just saving you time, man. It's not like you fired yourself and gave the work to ChatGPT. You know, it's just saving your personal time. There's no moral quandaries there, man. Watch the anime Delicious in Dungeon. I don't watch anime. I can't do anime. Can't do it. The food is a mimic colony. Oof. That would be so dangerous. That would be so dangerous. What do you want? You've been bugging me. Come on. Get up here. Come on. Let's go. Come on. You big baby. Jeez. Fluffy bucket. Carnivorous tribbles. You're the food. What are tribbles? Hold on a second. That sounds super familiar. What are tribbles? I swear I've heard that before. If AI robot assistants become affordable household items in 10 years, will you get one? I already have 2 of them. They vacuum my floors. It's like the best $600 I've ever invested in. I have one that vacuums my basement every night, and then I have another one that vacuums our main floor several times a week. And that's some of the best money I've ever spent because it keeps the floor clean, man. And we don't have to friggin' sweep all the time and stuff. Tribbles are from Star Trek. Yes. Yep. I kind of remember what they look like a little bit, but that was like the original Star Trek too. Yeah. Star Trek furries, yeah. Gadget Cat says, is the stream still going? I mean, for like a couple more minutes. Yeah. Tribbles are small balls of fur that eat endlessly. Oh, nice. That's beautiful. Another question from the forum. Some of my players take way too long either deciding what to do on their turn or figuring out ways to bypass or cheese an upcoming encounter. What are some ways I can remedy this? Well, I mean, if they're taking too long to decide what to do on their turn, just skip them. There's 2 ways to do this. You can literally say, hey, you're not doing anything on this turn because you don't know what you're doing. Your character is literally indecisive and you skip them and they won't be happy about that. You can do things like put out a timer of 1 minute, and if you can't tell me what you're doing in 1 minute, you get skipped. You could do that. I've done that before. Trust me, it doesn't take long. I mean, it only takes like 1 time of being skipped before your players are going to be much faster about telling you what they're going to do on their turn. Guarantee you 100%. but they're going to not like it, right? The second thing you can do, and I tend to do this a whole lot more now, is if somebody doesn't know what they're going to do on their turn, I will literally just move their initiative. I'll be like, well, you don't know what you're going to do. I'm just going to move you until after this person. And then they get to take their turn. And then after their turn, I'll come back to that player. Okay, are you ready yet? Well, okay, we'll just move you. And we're just going to keep moving your initiative order until you can figure out what you're going to do, you know? Now that is much more palatable in my opinion than getting skipped, obviously. They're still not going to like it. But the fact of the matter is you had 15 minutes while everybody else was taking their turn to figure out what you're going to do. And you're holding up the game. There's no excuse for that, man. So, yeah. Or they figure out ways to bypass or cheese an upcoming encounter. Well, if bypassing... There is a time and a place for bypassing encounters or overcoming them in creative ways that don't involve combat. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's I don't know how to say it, except that there's a good way to do that and a bad way to do that. And if your players are bypassing or cheesing through encounters in the bad way, you know, my solution to that is simply pausing the game and saying, hey guys, I've noticed that there are a lot of encounters that are being bypassed using this broken exploit, whatever it happens to be, right? So I have an honest question for you guys. Do you want to play the game? Because right now we're not playing the game. You're just literally pushing a button to skip encounters, you know? So if we don't want to play the game, I'm okay with that. If you don't want to play the game, I'm okay with that. I can find other people who want to play the game. Trust me. But we need to have this discussion because right now we're skipping large parts of the game. Large parts of the game, by the way, that I spent a lot of time preparing. So it makes me wonder why I spend the time preparing it if you're all just going to skip it. Using some exploit, broken, whatever it is, you know. Now, that's the conversation I would have. Got crap in my throat now. And I have literally had that conversation before. Because players were using a spell that basically killed everything in the dungeon. And my conversation was literally, hey guys, guess what? If you continue to use this spell in every dungeon, I have no incentive to run this game for you anymore. I'm not going to design any more adventures. I'm not going to bother. If you're going to cast this spell at the beginning of every dungeon, I'm done. I'm no longer making dungeons for you anymore. Because you're just using this broken spell to like kill everything in the dungeon. I'm finished. That was the conversation. It was literally like, do you want to play the game or are we done? So there is a time and a place for that conversation if it's bad enough. Now there are other ways to like bypass encounters or overcome encounters than combat. We all know that, right? What was it? It was that D&D spell. It's like a 6th or 7th level spell where you cast it and it covers a massive area and it makes it so that if there are any fiends, celestials, fae, or undead, they take, it's something like 12d6 damage every round. It's a lot. Forbiddance, yes, forbiddance. So, I was adjudicating the application of that spell incorrectly. I've since made a ruling that it doesn't work the way my player was trying to use it. But that aside, it was still a conversation of, do you want to play this game or not? You know? But yeah, I do realize now that I was allowing him to implement it in a way that was incorrect. And so now I have I have a different way that I run that. And yes, I pretty much run it the way you're saying, Fred. They have to walk through the affected area when they cast it. So when they spend their 10 minutes or whatever casting the spell, they literally have to walk. If they want to cast Forbiddance on the entire dungeon, they need to walk throughout the entire dungeon. All of the area that they're going to cast Forbiddance on, they have to walk throughout it. You know, and that's the simple solution to avoid them just killing everything in the dungeon with casting a spell. So, is it a ritual? Yeah, I think it has an expensive spell component to it. So there's an expendable spell component that's not cheap, if I remember correctly. It gets used up as part of the ritual casting, but I think it's a ritual. Yeah. No, walking through the area is raw for the spell. It's not that specific. It doesn't. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm gonna look it up, but we've looked it up before, and it's an area of contention where it's not that clear. Well, I'm happy to look it up though. I don't want to say something that's incorrect. I mean, I really don't care if I'm incorrect. If I'm incorrect, people will just tell me in the comments, and then I get engagement. So, I guess I don't care that much. But I can't spell Forbiddance. There we go. So I'm going to look at the Legacy spell, because that was the one that we were looking at specifically. So it says, oh, it does say the area or the range is touch. Oh, I think that's the part. It says touch. You have to touch it. Touch. But of course, that could be, you could say that, hey, I'm touching this part of the dungeon. Therefore, it applies to 4,000 square feet, 40,000 square feet. So you could still argue that I'm touching this part of the dungeon, therefore it applies to the whole thing. You can make that argument. You create a ward against magical travel that protects up to 40,000 square feet of floor space to a height of 30 feet above the floor. For the duration, creatures can't teleport into the area or use portals, no planar travel, they can't access the area by way of all these different things. In addition, it damages creatures that you choose when you cast it. Damages types of creatures you choose when you cast it. You choose among these types of creatures. And when a chosen creature enters the area for the first time, it takes 5d10 radiant or necrotic damage, your choice, which is not a trivial amount. And then it's every turn, dude. Design its password, It can't overlap if you cast it. Yeah, so this is the only part of the spell that you could make an argument that raw, you have to walk throughout the area. But I could easily make an argument that it's not, you just touch a part of the area, so you can argue back and forth on that. Yeah. So I think that's the part that is not super clear. And they probably didn't make it any better in the new version. But whatever, who cares? I already have the way I rule it. Yeah, but that spell threatened to break the entire game, because at that point it's like, if you could just kill everything with one spell, and what did it do? What was the component? Yeah, you had to spend 1,000 gold pieces of holy water, rare incense, or a powdered ruby. So it cost 1,000 gold pieces to cast it, but that's nothing in high level D&D, nothing. And so that spell was literally if you guys are just gonna keep doing this, I'm not playing the game. It's I quit. I quit as your game master. I surrender. You won the game. Congratulations. Hey, you're very welcome, Raptor. Have a good night, dude. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna draw the winners of the giveaway right now, and I'm gonna get out of here. Let's do the thing. Where's my giveaway? There we go. Draw winners. Wee. Draw winners. Wee. Draw winners. All right. The winner. I don't know what their name is. Let's see. Actions by user. What is their name? Okay, Red Pepper John. Red Pepper John, you are the winner. Red Pepper John from Illinois, you are the winner, dude. I will send you an email. We'll get you hooked up with $50 damn Lair store credit. Gadget Cat, what is happening? Where am I? What's going on? We're ending the stream, dude. We'll see you. We'll see you next time, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging out. Next week, there is no stream next week because I'm going to be on a little trip with my wife and her family. But we'll have a stream the week after. So we will see you guys all then. All right, I gotta find the buttons and push the buttons.